name is Claudina. My brother came back from the Korean War, and he seen me as a little dark native girl running around barefooted, and I had these big long feet. I was so skinny. He used to call me Claude Hopper, and then he just shortened it to Hopper. I was born in Cedar City, Utah, 1951, April.
My name is Glendora Snow Homer. I was born in 1951, and I was born in St. George, Utah.
My birth certificate indicates Benn Pikyavit, and I changed it in the 80s or something like that to Benjamin with two N's, no S.
When and where were you born?
Fillmore, Utah, 7/31/48.
It was just free. It was just running around barefooted and coming home when we wanted, you know, playing out in the hills and just being free.
Just playing around barefoot, going up to the pond and, swimming, playing with kids up there. Just kind of being carefree, really. I remember playing up there, playing what we call scoomper-dolls. You know, the yellow bush that you see growing on the side of the roads? That's rabbit brush, but we call it scoomp. And then it's got that fluffy yellow bottom. You break a piece of it off, and that's the skirt of your doll. Remember playing with Hopper and her sister Rosetta up on the side of the hill near the pond with our scoomper dolls.
Very quiet, very sparsely populated. That time my uncle had cattle, so we helped do the branding and all that. Probably ever since I was born. That was at 48, so 6 years later, I was still there, going to first grade.
We all spoke, Paiute. We were, 'cause that's all we heard,
That was the only language that we knew. Basically because we were brought up by our grandparents or grandmother, and that's all she knew. And that's how we picked up the language.
Yeah, people said I was a little fluent speaker, but I'm not today. English I've taken it from me.
Traditional wise, I don't recall any of that except for our funerary ceremony. That's the only thing I remember.
Like I mentioned, being taught up by the grandmother who taught us a lot about gathering food. It was something that was given to us when we were little, so we were accustomed to this food. But I can't remember all of the names of it.
I would say it was good up until my grandma died, my great-grandma, Mitty Chassis. I was 10. My great-grandmother was very loving. She was my mother. I called her Mama. She took care of me. It was good. I had a happy childhood up until that time. Well, one thing I knew, Moccasin was where the white people lived. We called it Mormon Moccasin. Yeah, we had interaction with them. The Mormons had built a church there in the village, and they came down to, convert the Indians, and I got baptized too at 8.
By the time I was 8, I know that I got baptized into the Mormon church. in Kanab, Utah.
Yeah, they took us to Kanab to be baptized, a bunch of us kids were taken up there. I remember riding in the back of I think it was a cattle truck, because there was a few of us, and I don't know if they had any other vehicles. I don't know why they took us in a cattle truck, but I remember a cattle truck. Yeah, and they took us up there, baptized us.
Later on, when you reach age of 8, you were baptized for the dead. It was all set up by the church, and they would come and pick us up.
And did your parents ever protest?
No.
Well, my mom must have been in agreement with it because my sisters and I were baptized.
I remember I was afraid. I told my grandma I didn't want to. I didn't want to go up there, be baptized, and she told me not to be afraid, to let them baptize me because the Mormons will help you. The thinking was, I think, went back to when, in the early days, when they were baptizing all the Indians down Shivwitz Reservation. If you let the Mormons baptize you, they'll give you food, they'll give you clothes, and, they'll help you out like that. And so I think that was what she meant by when she said, the Mormons will help you.
My auntie told my mom, she says, come down and come to church with us, and she says, oh no. She says, I'm not hungry. She said, because they would feed them after church. The Mormon church would feed them. And so my mom says, no, I'm not hungry, I don't want to go down there. So my auntie would kind of get after her. And then one day my auntie came and told my mom. My mom said, why do you keep going to that church? And she says, because today they told us that if we continue to go to church, that our skin's going to turn white. And that was during the 60s when I remember my auntie telling my mom that our skin is going to turn white.
They had their ways, their beliefs. But it's funny, a lot of us were baptized, and a lot of us, even some of our parents went to church and drunk on the next day, that kind of thing. But I don't think anybody ever really bought it, because today no one's Mormon. No one goes to the Mormon church. But what I thought about when I got older too is I was like, how come we had to have our own church? How come we couldn't go to church with them up at Moccasin? They have a nice church. Why? And I think that was probably one of the things when I got older too, that I decided, that's kind of like discrimination. Why can't we go to church together and worship God together? And why do we have to have our own church? The Lamanite church, And I guess I didn't like that. I didn't like that too much. Didn't want to have anything to do with the religion.
It was not a good memory because that's when alcohol came into the family. Well, I'm not saying it was there all the time, but I just barely vaguely remember it. But at Kanab, it was more prominent, and we didn't stay there that long, probably about a year or so, and then we were kind of more or less ousted out of Kanab. Too much problems with the Mormon community. I guess I became a problem, because I assuming being visited by policemen quite a few times, and we were the kids at times had to find a place to sleep, so we would go somewhere in town and find. I remember sleeping at an old abandoned gas station, and me and my cousins had to go sleep up there. And I remember the cops coming and taking us back home.